Tragic end for 25 travelers returning from Jos, Plateau State as they are gruesomely killed in Rukuba Road, Jos. Governors of Plateau and Edo State condemn attack. Governor Zulum of Borno State receives another Chibok schoolgirl who returns to Goza with 2 children after 7 years and 4 months in captivity. President Muhammadu Buhari appoints Justice Baba Yusuf as acting chief judge of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. An Afghan president rallies support for his military as Taliban forces push towards the capital, Kabul.
On business news tonight, Securities and Exchange Commission says funding platforms have been created to boost the government's infrastructure development plans.
And on sports news tonight, Bruno Fernandes scores his first hat-trick in English football as Manchester United swept Leeds United aside with a devastating second-half display.
We begin in Plateau State, where 25 people were killed earlier today in an attack along Rukuba Road in Jos North local government area. Eyewitness account has it that victims were in a convoy of 5 buses traveling from Bauchi to Ondo State, but met a crowd of sympathizers who were mourning some of their kinsmen killed in separate attacks last week. Sadly, the crowd opened fire on the convoy of the travelers, killing 25 people in the process. The Plateau State Governor, Simon Lalong, has condemned the attack on commuters, calling it callous and inhuman. He has directed security operatives to swiftly identify and arrest the perpetrators of this crime. Meanwhile, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu has appealed to Ondo residents not to take laws into their hands over an attack of indigents of the state in Plateau State. In a statement by his chief press secretary, the governor assures them that the situation is under control, adding that he had received reports of the Plateau tragedy where some people believed to be indigents of Ondo State were attacked. He also appealed to the people to refrain from any hasty coloration of the incident, maintaining that Ondo State indigents living in Plateau State are not target of any religious or ethnic crisis. It was also a day that ended fatally for 5 people, including 2 policemen, after armed bandits attacked Izobe police station in Oguta local government area of Imo State. The State Police Command says its tactical team engaged and repelled the armed bandits who attacked the police station in droves. 3 of the bandits fell to the superior firepower of the police, while others fled with bullet wounds. However, the command lost 2 of its gallant officers in the attack. Arms recovered from the bandits include 1 pump action, 2 rounds of live cartridges, and 1 locally made double-barrel pistol, as well as 2 expended cartridges. The police says its team in the command are presently in pursuit of the bandits. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has condemned the death of 3 children reportedly killed by unexploded grenades in Ngala town of Borno State. In a statement, the representative of the body in Nigeria, Mr. Peter Hodkins, describes the death of the children who were playing in Umblu Bridge in Ngala as yet another sad reminder that children remain direct and indirect targets of the protracted conflict in the northeast. He adds that thousands of children in the region have been killed, maimed, abducted, displaced, and experienced multiple violations of their human rights. While describing the deaths as unacceptable, he believes all sides to the ongoing conflict must protect children and prioritize their well-being at all times, with playing fields, schoolyards, and communities be made safe and habitable for them. Meanwhile, the Borno State Governor, Babagana Zulum, has received another Chibok schoolgirl today who presented herself to the Nigerian Army in Goza area of the state. The commander, 26th Task Force Brigade, handed over Ms. Hassanat Adamu alongside her 2 children to Governor Zulum. Hassana was one of the more than 200 schoolgirls abducted at the government secondary school in Chibok on April 14, 2014 by Boko Haram insurgents. About a week ago, Ruth Poju and the man said to be her husband had presented themselves to the Nigerian army at a location in Bama. Another tragic incident, and this one is coming from Abakaliki in Ebonyi State, where some passengers have died. The vehicle conveying them skidded off the road and plunged into an excavation pit about 32 feet deep. The accident occurred this afternoon along Abakaliki-Ikwo Expressway in Abakaliki local government area. Officers from the Nigeria Police Force, the Federal Road Safety Corps, are on ground to ensure security and management of traffic. Local divers involved in the rescue operation have confirmed that the said vehicle is a shuttle bus. In one of his first moves after returning from the United Kingdom, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the appointment of Justice Hussaini Baba Yusuf as acting Chief Judge of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The President's approval follows the recommendation of the National Judicial Council, NJC. In a statement released today by the NJC's Information Director, Mr. Sojoye, Justice Baba Yusuf will be sworn in by Chief Justice of Nigeria and the Chairman of the National Judicial Council, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, on Monday, August the 16th by 10 a.m. at the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The appointment takes effect from August the 1st. And let's go to Taraba State, where the Governor, Darius Ishaku, says he will no longer tolerate any sympathy strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Taraba State University chapter, if declared by the national body. According to him, the staff must be disciplined enough to know the difference between state and federal universities by not causing a setback, especially when he spends a lot from the state coffers to improve the standard of the institution. He believes that having a decent and uninterrupted school calendar should be the practice, not joining forces to scuttle long-term plans.
I am a state university. I cannot afford to be paying somebody who is in sympathy with the federal university. No, no, no. I won't. They should know the difference between the two. If I am sweating regularly to take from the public funds to pay their salary, they must be disciplined enough to know that they will not be on sympathy strike. Because if they have problem here, I don't think the federal university will be on sympathy strike. I am proud of our university now. And anybody who has a child in that university today is proud that his child is in that university.
Losad Promo Media Limited, that's the company that manages the billboard advertising at the Lekki toll gate, concluded its testimony today before the Lagos State Judicial Panel on restitution for victims of SARS-related abuses and other matters. Last week, the company's secretary, Abimbola Inyola, appeared before the panel in response to a summons issued on it to come and assist with the investigations. Our correspondent, Shola Shoyele, has this report.
Last week, the company's secretary of Lotsad Promo Media, Abimbola Inyola, appeared before the panel in response to a summons issued on the company to come and assist the panel with its investigations into the incident of October 20, 2020. Under cross-examination by additional Ogunlanu, counsel to some of the NSAS protesters, Mr. Eniola said the billboard at the Lekki toll gate does not serve the purpose of illuminating the Lekki toll grounds. The advert company had come under criticism, especially on social media, for turning off the billboard, throwing the Lekki toll gate into darkness, and allegedly providing cover for soldiers to open fire on the NSAS protesters on the night of October 20, 2020.
Have your billboard, when it's put on, does it aid illumination in that way? Okay, sir. It's as good as saying that on TV in our homes. That's how I can answer it, sir. If it is switched off, that toll gate has been there since 2012. It does not provide light for that place, sir. That's how I can answer that question.
A second witness, Sarah Ibrahim, who had testified that at least 12 people were killed at the Lekki toll gate, failed to appear before the panel on account of ill health. The panel moved on to Dr. Ayobami Aromolate, the Chief Medical Director of Granville Medical Center. He told the panel that the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria was not happy that he had divulged certain confidential records of patients at his last testimony. He pleaded with the panel to order the television cameras to be turned off so he could give his testimony off record, a request the panel obliged. Shola Shuyeli, Channels Television News.
Former Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, has attributed the rising insecurity in the country to corruption and poor economic policies of government. The former monarch blamed the current and previous administration for policies he says have now kept the citizens impoverished. Mr. Sanusi, who made a statement at a colloquium organized in his honor in Kaduna State to mark his 60th birthday, also insists that government must do away with fuel subsidy, which he describes as unsustainable. The former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Muhammadu Sanusi, is becoming a regular visitor to Kaduna State since he was dethroned as the Emir of Kano in 2020. To mark his 60th birthday in the state, Mr. Sanusi uses the platform to remind the federal government that the time has come for the outright removal of petrol subsidy, saying it's long overdue considering the current economic realities.
Many years ago, when I was screaming about the trillions being spent on fuel subsidy, I remember there was actually an attempt to attack my house in Kano. I was in the Central Bank. Where are we today? We are face to face with the reality that this is unsustainable. And when the decision is taken, it will be even more painful and much more difficult than if we had taken it 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
With the pervasive effects of poverty and insecurity in the country, especially in the northern region, the former monarch says government at all levels must be ready to tackle corruption.
On the eve of the banking reforms, every day, front page of newspapers, the CEOs were at the villa. They were friends of the presidents. President after president, they were oligarchs. They were untouchable. I remember when we started going after the bankers, someone called me and said, you know, you're a young man, you don't know what you're doing. You will not succeed. What have we done today? So far, 3, I think, or 4 of the wealthiest and most powerful bank CEOs in this country have gone to jail. And nothing happened. When you are in a society that is so abnormal, you cannot afford to be a conformist. Because if we all conform, the country will not change.
This is not the first time the former Emir of Kano has criticized the poor economic situation in the country, and for him, rather than trade blames, all hands must be on deck to get the nation's economy back on track. In part 2, after the break, we'll be taking a look at the flood alert and concerns that some coastal states may be submerged in the impending flood. That's in a moment. Join us again. Just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Tragic end for 25 travelers returning from Jos, Plateau State, as they are gruesomely killed in Rukuba Road near Jos. Governors of Plateau and Edo State condemn attack. Governor Zulum of Borno State receives another Chibok schoolgirl who returns to Goza with 2 children after 7 years and 4 months in captivity. President Muhammadu Buhari performs first task since returning from London, appoints Justice Baba Yusuf as acting Chief Judge of the FCT. An Afghan president rallies support for his military as Taliban forces push towards the capital, Kabul. There has been internal wranglings in the Osun State chapter of the All Progressive Congress APC, resulting in loads of petitions through the national headquarters of the party. Earlier today, an appeal committee was sent from Abuja to examine the causes of the division in the state chapter of the party. A video obtained from a member of the party shows a clash of supporters of the two divides in Osun APC. Although it's not clear how many were injured, but there are reports that many may have been hospitalized. A panel of 5 justices has unanimously dismissed the application of Mr. Stephen Ode, asking the appeal court to review its earlier judgment, which declared Jaribe Agom the right candidate in the December Cross River State by-election. The court ruled that the application was an abuse of court processes brought in bad faith. Mr. Ode had approached the Abuja court asking it to review and set aside the judgment made in favor of Mr. Jaribe by its Calabar division in Cross River State. In the meantime, the River State Governor Nyesom Wike is urging the People's Democratic Party (PDP) to take a legal action against the governors of Ebonyi and Cross River State following their defections from the PDP to the All Progressives Congress (APC). Governor Wike says it's necessary for the court in Nigeria to make a definite declaration about political defections, especially when a party is not in any form of crisis like the PDP at the time the governors and some members at the national and state level defected. On the judgment regarding the Cross River Senatorial District, the governor explains that too much litigation is unhealthy for politics.
There must be end to litigation. Politics is not a do-or-die affair. There's a point you get to, look, I have come to the end of the road. And as far as the state assembly and national assembly elections are concerned, it ends at the appeal tribunal. And so I'm happy, and I congratulate Jaribe Agon Jaribe. I congratulate the People's Democratic Party, particularly the Cross River State people, for standing firm and never allow their mandate to be stolen. Because if Dr. Ode had won today, what Dr. Ode wanted to do, as Senate reconvenes, he would have decamped to APC. And then that would have depleted the number of PDP senators in the Senate. But I thank God that this victory will give glory to Almighty God. It's a victory for democracy. It's a victory for the PDP, as a victory for all Nigerians. That there's hope that there are people in the judiciary who can say no to certain things that cannot be allowed. And I thank them for doing that today.
Let's head to Edo State now, where it's now an offense for anyone to engage in unlawful acquisition or speculation of land. The state governor, Godwin Obaseki, said this after signing the Private Property Protection Law 2021, warning that government will not tolerate people flouting this new law. Our correspondent, Osaze Obaze, has this report.
So from 60 to 60.
The Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, signs the Property Protection Law 2021. He explains the effect of this law to the worrisome trend of land grabbing in many communities in Edo State.
With this, we're not only banning community development associations, but all sorts of splinter groups like Okagilis and other people who have come up in communities to forcefully take other people's landed property will now be dealt with squarely under this law. We have been waiting for this law so that we can reconstitute the Committee on Protection of Private Property. And now that we have this law, within the next fortnight, we'll be reconstituting the committee in accordance with this law.
Around the suburbs of Benin City, the incidence of land grabbing is in an outrageous level, stunting development and depriving people of their hard-earned landed property, which causes emotions to overflow.
You see, funky leaf, vegetable.
It is sad and extremely sardonic that you buy land, having worked for so many years to purchase a plot of land, so that you erect a structure, so that you become a landlord at old age. Some unscrupulous, some disgruntled or careless or they will grab that land from you.
In the Benin culture, Ikaigele are an integral part of the Benin social system. Do their roles include sale and seizure of land? The Secretary Benin Traditional Council says far from it.
So all Okaigele, good, they are age grade group in the villages. They have been there right from time immemorial. Their function is not to be grabbing land and selling land. They have their functions. They take instructions from the elders of the villages. Whatever the elders tell them to do, that's what they do. They are not overlords on their own.
It is the belief that land grabbing is inimical to development, and all hands must be on the plow to ensure that the practice stops forthwith. Osaze Obaze, Channels Television News.
The Lagos State Government has been working on improving the waste collection mechanism within the state. New truck collection vehicles have been procured by the state government, and those who dispose waste indiscriminately have been advised to stop it or be prepared to face the wrath of the law.
Every day, over 13,000 metric tons of solid waste is generated in Lagos State by its population of over 24 million, while Nigeria as a whole generates more than 32 million tons of solid waste annually. Only about 20 to 30% is collected, a possible explanation to why most of it ends up on the roads, especially in densely populated areas.
It's the same people that will litter the environment that will still be complaining of flood. So I can charge the government to increase sensitization.
The government on their own part had a major role to play. Why? Because the law, how effective are they in providing dumpsters at strategic locations? What are they doing? How are they curbing it? How effective are they in picking it as well?
It's a troubling situation, but the state's Waste Management Authority says the collection process is about to change.
What we have launched commissioned by our Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, is our 102 compactors and waste collection trucks, as well as 100 double dyno bins that can be in public places, markets and co. What that will do for us is when you further enhance our operational the needs and ensure that all our needs are fully catered for.
Monitoring the waste collection, we proceed to the island at Falamo area, where one of the newly launched compactor trucks is already on the streets, picking up refuse. Even at night, the Lomo officials are carrying out their duties. On the mainland, a marketplace like Oshodi is also being taken care of. A dino bin is stationed here for market men and women to drop their waste. This is not the first time the Lagos State Government is investing so much into the waste management system. In January 2018, the administration of Governor Akiwumi Ambode rolled out 200 compactor trucks with over 20,000 bins deployed across the state, managed by environmental utility group Visionscape. But not much success was recorded, and the company eventually withdrew its services. This caused a setback in terms of waste management, a situation the leadership of Loma says will not be repeated.
The difference in what is being done now is the sustainability part of it and doing it at the right time, and then letting the end user have a contribution into what is actually needed.
The situation is made worse by the poor attitude of some residents who turn the streets into dump sites.
Some people will dump their waste in the canals, in the gutters in front of their drainage, or in an open space, believing that just like water, waste will find its level. Waste is not like that. Waste is continuously, and it is an environmental problem.
Again, changes are being made here to ensure this is stopped with the introduction of a new app to report anyone found guilty of environmental infractions.
The City Monitor application. This intends to give government a wide reach in monitoring and responding to environmental issues reported by the residents.
Lagos State has 5 active dump sites in Olushosun, Igodo, Epe, Ikorodu, and Badagry. Rehabilitation is currently ongoing to prevent fire outbreaks at the various sites.
You will not see the hazard that you saw that's happened before, where we have all this burning fire in dump site. We are now trying to do control landfill. That's what we're doing now.
Also, major solid waste is being processed at the material recovery facility in Igodo, where one of the recycling plants is situated.
Sort for the valuable fractions. What do I mean by valuable fractions? The sort of materials that can be recycled. And those materials include your plastics, your metals, your paper, your carton, bottles, you name it, and we will process for recycling.
Achieving a cleaner environment is seen as a collective responsibility, and the Lagos State Government is encouraging everyone to sort their waste before it's collected by the authorized operators.
Still ahead on the news at 10, we'll bring you business news and sports right after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Residents of Magboro in Ogun State are lamenting the impact of sand dredging in their community, which has increased the number of trucks plying their roads. The residents claim that the influx of these trucks conveying sand from the dredging site has compounded their infrastructure challenge and fear that the dredging may compromise the safety of the numerous transmission lines located in the area. Our correspondent Chris Olems has this report.
Infrastructure challenge in Magboro community may have been with the people for a long time. This appears to be worsening by the day with the influx of trucks conveying sand from a mining site within the locality. Our visit to Abulioko Road gives us an insight into what the people are faced with on a daily basis. Vehicles contend with trucks on a road that has suddenly become a death trap. The residents want a way out.
Every year we grade this road at least twice in a year to make it comfortable for our people. But suddenly when the dredging company came in, they came in with their trucks. About more than 200 trucks ply this road every day, and as a result of that, they damage the road for us.
They claim that over the years, they have put in hard-earned resources into maintaining the road and managing the situation. But the dredgers have become a clog in their wheels of progress.
Why it became abandoned was because on the day we commenced on the project, the company in question came and stopped us and said that, in fact, brought in a lot of thugs and even went further to arrest us.
So many businesses on this Abulioku road appear to have folded up as a result of the state of the road and the dangers inherent. Another area of worry for them is the impact the dredging activities may have on the numerous transmission lines in Magboro.
This dredging is not only inside the river, but it is at the bed, under the bed of the community. And if it happens that this thing is draining all the sand under the bed, it may affect the power line, and the power line may collapse any time from now.
Attempt to reach the dredging company was not successful.
Why you not for the time that the video go, I beg, don't video anything.
Officials of the Environment Agency, who incidentally visited the site, served the company an abatement notice. In his response, the special advisor to the state governor on environment, Ola Oresonya, decried the level of degradation the community has been exposed to by the activities of the miners and promised the intervention of the state government.
The federal government gave a license to mine responsibly, and the onus is on us at the state level to ensure that you mine responsibly in our state. We need to protect the environment, we need to protect our people, and make sure the well-being of our people, whether on the short term or medium or long term, is not jeopardized by the immediate benefit some people are getting. So you will see action very soon.
With the flooding season imminent, communities located along the Ogun River are often badly affected. Attention, therefore, must be paid to activities that directly affect the flow, composition and control of the water. The relevant authorities must step up to its responsibilities of ensuring that no one is put in harm's way by the actions of a few. Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
Joining us to discuss the impact of sand dredging and poor waste disposal is an environment advocate and co-founder of Rethinking Cities, Mr. Deji Akinpelu. A pleasure having you with us on the News at 10.
Thank you, Melinda. Thank you for having me.
Now, there seems to be a constant abuse of the Lagos and Ogun environment, refuse dumping on the one hand and sand dredging activities on the other. With massive flooding threat on coastal communities, what can be done to help communities survive the impact?
Okay, so two very interesting topics that you have there, waste management and sand dredging in relations to flooding. Interestingly, you had in your report the Lagos State Government launching some new trucks. It is very, very important that we begin to look at effective waste management in particularly poor and informal communities in a state like Lagos and Ogun State. Effective in the sense that, okay, do we have enough machineries? Do we have a very effective system in place whereby waste can actually be moved away from these communities? You see some of those trucks, very, very big. They are not accessible to, they don't have access to these poor and informal communities that we are talking about. So what is the local solution? How do you help communities manage their waste? We have a state like Lagos whereby informal cart pushers have been banned for a very long time. And one very effective way for us to have been able to evacuate waste from those environments is enabling informal workers to work and incorporate them into the waste management system of the state.
So you think the cart putter shouldn't have been done away with?
Yeah, because if you look at those trucks, how many of them can access these communities that we are talking about? And we now have the issues of, we are saying that waste is going into the canals. So when the people don't see the PSP operators, what happens? In as much as we don't encourage people to be violators of the law, but we have to look at something that is more effective. and what is the local solution? How have people been managing? So can there be an incorporation between PSP operators and the informal waste pickers in this environment, in these communities? Are the things that we need to begin to explore. How can we begin to start looking at waste separation even on the community level and these informal communities that we have? So that's one thing that we've been advocating for. If in a situation whereby you can incorporate these people into the system. And talking about dredging and these communities that we have presently, dredging activities, like you saw in your news report, has very adverse effect on the people, their economy, their lifestyle, water supply. For those fishing communities, it affects their fishing system. So dredging has been a big problem in the city of Lagos that we need to begin to check. Their dredging activities have not been regulated in any way. What we've been doing is we're dredging and we're using it to build housing.
Well, if I may, Mr. Akinpelu, in some quarters, sand dredging has been hailed as an important step in curbing flooding.
Yeah, you could use dredging to curb flooding, but it's not always the most effective way. If you're using it to combat flooding, yes, it's very, very possible, but is not the only way. You could also have other systems. You could have structures. Wetland protection is another way. That's one thing that we're also doing. We're also even dredging from wetlands in the city like Lagos. So take, for instance, we're not protecting our ecosystem. So dredging has its own effect on the ecosystem of the water that you have. You're changing the entire course of nature. So you are polluting. In some cases, when the dredging is poorly done, bad engineering, you have instances of water pollution. So you have in these areas, in these communities where you have these dredging activities taking place, the people cannot find good water to drink.
What about the issue of illegal mining? Can miners really be made to do their jobs responsibly?
Yes, we can. Activities have to be regulated. Activities have to be checked. But do you have the government agency empowered, or do they have enough structure or the manpower to actually monitor these activities? Are some of the things that we are asking. So, but can you set up a system whereby people can check and begin to report and begin to say, okay, hey, this is what is going on here. Where should things happen and where should it not happen? Do we have a portal? Do you have a system whereby people can see what is going on in their environment and begin to report and say, okay, hey, this is happening in our environment. This shouldn't be. So things like development plans of the city should be made public, and we should be able to know what is happening. So when there's a development going on, there's a sand filling, there's a dredging, you should be able to check and be able to confirm, okay, should this be taking place here? Is this place approved for this? Where are the wetlands that need to be protected? And you have a situation whereby government agencies are doing things in variance. So one agency is trying to protect the land, another agency is giving it out for housing. So there's a big problem here because you want to meet a particular need, particularly in terms of housing. We're having dredging and sand filling going on, but where are we taking the sand to? Who are we building for? So I would say Lagos is sitting on a sinking sand if these activities are not checked.
Now, finally and very quickly too, at the level that we are now, is there any sign that we can just quickly do something? Because when the floods come, the waters cover everywhere. So what do you think quickly now?
Yeah, quickly, of course, one big challenge that we have in Lagos is the drainage canal, the primary, secondary. Of course, there are some efforts that are being made to work on the drainage canals. But when you talk about the coastal communities, it is a big problem. Nothing preventive is being done, and they're the most hit. So you talk about communities within Lagos and Ogun State. You're talking about Ikorodu axis, Jegunle Ikorodu, and all of that, including the release of water from the dam. So there's all these preventive measures of building canals, levelers, and all of that, ponds, to prevent this is not happening, particularly in those areas. And we need to begin to look at that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adiji Akinpelu.
Thank you.
Pleasure sharing your thoughts with us on the News at 10. The Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Mr. Sunday Dare, is challenging young people to be innovative and come up with entrepreneurial engagements instead of waiting for white-collar jobs. He was speaking at an event commemorating the 2021 International Youth Day in the nation's capital, Abuja. Mr. Dare states that the federal government is working to ensure young people are given the required skills that will empower them, especially in the area of new development skills.
A day after Nigeria was ranked 161st out of 181 countries on the 2020 Global Youth Development Index, the federal government joins the rest of the world to mark the International Youth Day on the 12th of August. The report, which was released by the Commonwealth Secretariat, measures the status of young people around the world. This year's theme, Transforming Food System, Youth Innovation for Human and Planetary Health, seeks to figure out the needs for inclusive support mechanisms that will ensure that young people continue to play a vital role in restoring the planet, as well as transformation of food system. This formed the crux or the address of the Minister of Youth and Sports Development.
With the increasing uptake of technology as an enabler by a huge number of the younger generation, the innovative minds and skills of the youth will serve as the fuel for development, even in developing food systems.
Nigeria has a large youthful population, as the United Nations estimates that over 70% of Nigerians are within the age bracket of 15 and 35, which is the defined age for the youth, according to the National Youth Policy. The National Bureau of Statistics states that 13.1 million young people are unemployed. Hence, the need to put this mass of energy to proper use for national development.
You can be the difference. You can be the change you want to see in the world. We do need to find ways whereby the support mechanisms are more inclusive. We need to find ways that ensures that youth, especially women, continue and amplify efforts collectively and individually to restore this planet and protect life, while integrating biodiversity in the transformation of food systems.
It is very critical that youth are engaged to foster sustainable development, and as a major stakeholder group, they must encourage to carry the baton of leadership and innovation to share the kind of sustainable and inclusive future which the 2030 agenda envisions.
Yearly, Nigeria churns out young people into the labor market upon the completion of the compulsory National Youth Service Corps. The challenge for government at all levels is to ensure that these young people have the enabling environment to make meaningful contribution to national development.
For what's happening in the world of business, here is Teniola Shobowale.
Thanks a lot, Melinda. Welcome to Business News. Following the recent announcement by the Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, on the reinstatement of tolls, the Securities and Exchange Commission says the capital market plays a critical role in funding infrastructure projects in Nigeria. According to the CEC's chief economist, Mr. Oke Umeano, the regulatory agency has created funding avenues to bridge the infrastructure gap. He was a guest on our program, Capital Market, earlier today.
We think it's a capital market that will bridge the huge infrastructure gap we have. And what we are doing now is to, create avenues to make this capital market work for Nigeria. We have created avenues for these funds to come up, and we have invited the capital market operators to create products that will support fundraising for infrastructure. We have also invited the subnationals, the states, to come in and raise, revenue bonds, they can use for to provide this infrastructure. Now, we can even see that the federal government has reinstated the toll gates. We believe that if the capital market is tapped for the funding to provide these infrastructure, the tolls can be used to pay back these things, these funding, and the cycle continues. At the end of the day, we'll have infrastructure that is befitting for our economy, that helps us to produce. So that's what we are aiming at in the capital market.
Meanwhile, the SEC has promised to clamp down on illegal capital market operators, especially operators of Ponzi schemes. According to the Commission, their activities create a huge problem for the economy and the country. The regulatory agency says it has adopted multi-level engagements to curb the reach and activities of these illegal operators. It further advises the public to carry out due diligence on investment platforms through its portal before investing in any scheme. In March, the SEC noted that 3 million Nigerians have lost 18 billion naira to Ponzi scheme operators. The total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot forwards and futures market last week rose by 2.24% to $692.6 million as at August the 13th. According to latest report from the FMDQ exchange, total value of forex traded at the investors and exporters window of the forex market also rose by 12.31% to $550.14 million week to date. On the other hand, the weekly average rate for the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange fell slightly by 0.03% to 411 naira 17 kobo against the dollar, compared to 411 naira 16 kobo recorded in the previous week. Meanwhile, at the parallel market, the naira was up marginally against the dollar by 0.04% at 510 naira 60 kobo to a dollar as at August the 13th. In the local stock markets, the bulls continue to dominate as the market recorded a second consecutive weekly gain. The market's benchmark index climbed by 1.83% to close the week at 39,522.34, while the equities cap rose further above the 20 trillion naira mark. And this was largely due to gains recorded by Airtel Africa and Dangote Cement earlier in the week. The market's sectoral performance was broadly positive following gains in the banking, oil and gas and consumer goods indexes. However, the insurance and industrial goods indexes declined. Activity levels were stronger as trading volume and value grew by 66.4% and 55% each week on week. Honeywell Flour Mill topped the gainers chart while Jelly PLC led the laggards. At the same time, the trio of Honeywell Flour Mill, BOC Gases and Flour Mills were the major contributors to the total turnover volume and value of shares transactions, as they accounted for 724.06 million shares worth 3.9 billion naira in 1,061 deals. And that's business news tonight. It's back to Melinda for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Teniola. On the international scene, Taliban fighters have captured Mazar-i-Sharif. That's the last major city in northern Afghanistan, which was still under government control. Militants, who now control most of the local provincial capitals, are edging closer to the capital, Kabul, as their rapid advance shows no sign of abating.
In a major setback for the Afghan government, the fall of Mazar-i-Sharif, the country's fourth largest city, hands the Taliban control over all of northern Afghanistan. With the Taliban in control of two-thirds of the war-torn country, the group is edging closer to the capital, Kabul. For the first time since the Taliban made major gains in recent days, the Afghan president, Ashraf Ghani, addressed the nation. He said the government's top priority is the remobilization of the Afghan armed forces to prevent further destruction and displacement of people. In the brief televised address, he gave no sign of responding to a Taliban demand that he resigns for any talks on a ceasefire and political settlement. On Friday, Kandahar, the economic hub of the south, fell under Taliban control as US-led international forces complete their withdrawal after 20 years of war. Herat in the west, near the border with Iran, also fell to the group on the same day. As the insurgents took the country's second and third biggest city, American troops arrived in Kabul to help evacuate embassy personnel and other civilians. Britain and several other Western nations are also sending troops as resistance from Afghan government forces crumbles and fears grow that an assault on the capital could be just days away. The UN has appealed to neighboring countries to keep their borders open so that displaced Afghans can reach safely.
A powerful earthquake has shocked the Caribbean nation of Haiti, killing at least 29 people. The 7.2 magnitude quake hit the west of the country, toppling and damaging buildings, including churches and hotels. The Prime Minister, Ariel Henry, has declared a month-long state of emergency. The epicenter of the quake was about 12 kilometers from the town of St. Louis. The tremor was felt in the densely populated capital of Port-au-Prince, some 125 kilometers away, and in neighboring countries. Haiti is still recovering from a devastating 2010 earthquake in which more than 200,000 people were killed.
Hello and welcome to Sports News. British sprinter CJ Uja says he was shocked and devastated after a positive drugs test that could see his country stripped of their Olympic silver medal in the 4x100 meters relay. Uja ran the first leg of the final in Tokyo as Britain narrowly missed gold, but has been provisionally suspended after prohibited substances showed up in tests. The 27-year-old was informed of an adverse analytical finding from a test carried out during the Olympics, showing the presence or use of muscle-building substance. His relay teammates were Zarnell Hughes, Richard Kelty, and Nathaniel Michelle Blake, whose medals will also be at risk if the positive test is confirmed. Meanwhile, Super Eagles of Nigeria hosts Cameroon, and title holders Algeria are among the six top seeds confirmed for next year's Africa Cup of Nations draw in Yaoundé on August the 17th. Senegal, currently the top-ranked team on the continent, and two former champions, Tunisia and Morocco, complete the lineup. The strength of the 24-team lineup is illustrated by Egypt and Ghana, who have won the Cup of Nations 11 times, between them being only second seeds. Yaoundé, Limbe, Bafoussam, Douala and Garoua will host the Africa Cup of Nations from January the 9th to February the 16th in 2022. And the Confederation of African Football, CAF, has announced that 8 countries have been barred from hosting the 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers next month after failing to meet international standards. According to CAF, the countries are Mali, Burkina Faso, Central African Republic, Djibouti, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Namibia, and Niger Republic. The Africa Football Governing Body says the affected countries are allowed to nominate alternative venues. This means the affected countries must use a neutral ground for their home games during the World Cup qualifiers in September, October, and of course, November. Elsewhere, Bruno Fernandes has scored an opening day hat-trick as Manchester United swept Leeds aside with a devastating second-half display. Mohamed Salah became the first player to score on the opening weekend in 5 consecutive campaigns as Liverpool got their title bid off to a winning start with a comfortable victory at Norwich City. Chelsea showed their title credentials with a comfortable win over Crystal Palace. Jamie Vardy picked up where he left left off last season as his superb header earned Leicester City an opening victory. Super Eagles forward Emmanuel Dennis scored on his debut as Watford marks their return to the top flight with a thrilling victory over Aston Villa. Rafael Benitez got off to the perfect start as Everton manager as his team came from behind to beat Southampton. And Barcelona have announced that they have successfully registered Memphis Depay, Eric Garcia and Ray Minaj for the current La Liga season. This followed the decision of defender Gerard Piqué to take a large pay cut to ease their financial pressures. And that will be all on sports news.
Many thanks, Coyote. And the main news again. Tragic end for 25 travelers who returned from Jos, Plateau State today as they were gruesomely killed in Rukuba Road near Jos. Governors of Plateau and Edo States condemn attack. Governor Zulum of Borno State received another Chibok schoolgirl today who returned to Gwoza with 2 children after 7 years and 4 months in captivity. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Melinda Akinlami. On behalf of the team, good night.